Have you brushed your teeth and combed your hair? Are you in your pajamas ready for bed? Are the curtains drawn and blankets tucked tight? Are you ready to sleep and say goodnight? But before you go into your dream ride, here's a story for you tonight. Tonight, I've got you a story about little monsters. Yes, you heard it right, little monsters. They look scary, but they actually aren't. They're quite cute. So here goes the story. Yuck, That's Not a Monster by Angela McAllister and Ellison Edson. Mr. and Mrs. Monster were very proud of their 3 eggs. Mr. Monster kept them warm by huffing with his hot, stinky breath, and Mrs. Monster screeched to them. One stormy night, the first egg cracked. Out climbed an ugly little monster with prickly spikes and snarly fangs. "Oh, he's frightful," sighed Mr. and Mrs. Monster happily. So that's what they called him. Then the second egg cracked. Out climbed another ugly little monster with horny spines and bristly warts. "Oh, she's horrible," gasped Mr. and Mrs. Monster happily. So that's what they called her. Then the third egg shook a bit. Frightful and Horrid gave it a poke. Out crept something very soft and pink. "Ugh, he's sweet," said the little monsters. "Let's squash him." "Well, he's not what we expected," said Mrs. Monster. "He's a bit of a shock." "Let's throw him in the dustbin," said Mr. Monster. Suddenly, there was a crash of thunder. "Mama!" cried the fluffy one and jumped into Mrs. Monster's arms. She looked down at her bundle of sweetness. "I think we will keep him," she said. "He may look different, but inside he is a monster, just like us." So they called him Little Shock. Each day, Frightful and Horrid grew hairier and scarier. They learned how to spit and hiss and snarl and scratch. In the human world, all these things are not very nice. But in the monster world, I think it's allowed. But Little Shock grew more fluffy. He liked to gurgle and roly-poly and twinkle his big blue eyes. He loved his brother and sister and followed them everywhere. Don't you do it with your brothers and sisters too? How about you, Kyra? Do you do it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what? Kyra's Didi doesn't like it much. "If you want to play with us, you have got to be wild and rampageous," said Frightful and Horrid. They showed him how to howl at the moon until it hid behind the cloud. But Little Shock was afraid of the dark. They showed him how to squash and stamp and trample. But Little Shock saw a worried worm and sat down to give it a hug. "Oh, that's so cute." "Ugh!" snarled Frightful and Horrid. "He's just a cutie pie." Don't think the brother and sister like him very much. Soon, Frightful and Horrid were bold enough to go monstering in the woods. "You must take your brother with you," insisted Mrs. Monster. Frightful and Horrid snorted grumpily, but they put Little Shock in a trolley, hid him under a blanket, and tucked him along. In the woods, Frightful leapt out at a fox and made its fur turn white. Horrid pounced on a wild pig and made it jump into a tree. They had a wonderful time. Oh my God, the little monsters were scaring everyone around. Ooh, let's see what Shock does. Little Shock cuddled his blanket and played peekaboo with a mouse. Aww. What shall we do now? Said Frightful. Let's find something big to scare, said Horrid. Something big rustled in the bush ahead, so they crept up on it. There was something big and they were going to scare that something big. Frightful and Horrid saw a hairy hump. They winked at each other and took a deep breath and roared. Oh my God. Let's see what happens now. But the hairy hump was only a little bit of a big monster. It snarled and flashed its fiery eyes. Who dared to roar at me? Frightful and Horrid were too terrified to run away. Their spines swirled and their claws curled up. Oh my God, that monster looks really big. What's going to happen now? Suddenly, the big monster spotted Little Shock. Oh, Candy Floss, he said. Little Shock stared up at the monster's face. His big blue eyes grew wider and wider. Oh my God, what do you think the monster is going to do? I hope he doesn't eat Little Shock. He did say Candy Floss, and everybody loves Candy Floss. Let's see what happens. Then, Mwah! He gave the monster a kiss right on the cheek. My God, Little Shock actually kissed the monster. Ouch! The big monster wailed and dropped Little Shock in horror. He was so afraid that his fur turned to frizz and his bristles fell out. Help! He cried, it's adorable! And he ran away crying for his mummy. Mummy! Frightful and Horrid couldn't believe their eyes. You kissed him? You kissed him? They laughed. Ha ha ha! Horrid swung her little brother high in the air and sat him on Frightful's shoulder. Maybe being cute could be useful after all, she said, giving him a pinch. Little Shock just purred happily. Come on then, said Frightful proudly. Let's go home and all kiss Mom and Dad. Wow, they're going to go home and kiss Mom and Dad. Now, how about you? What are you going to do after this story? I hope you're going to kiss them good night. With that, good night, sleep tight, don't get into any pillow fights.
Don't forget to like, share and subscribe.
Oh yes, please do that. Thank you.
Bye.